Welcome to Figure Eight, where we feature inspiring stories of women entrepreneurs who have grown their businesses to 7 and 8 figures revenue. If you're in the mix of growing a bigger business, these stories are for you. Join us as we explore where the tough spots are, how to overcome them, and how to prepare yourself for the next portion of the climb. I'm your host, Julie Ellis. I'm an author, entrepreneur, and a growth and leadership coach who co founded, grew, and exited an 8-figure business. This led me to exploring why some women achieve great things. And that led to my book, Big Gorgeous Goals. Let's explore the systems, processes, and people that help us grow our businesses to new heights. If you're interested in growing your business, this podcast will help. Now, let's get going. Hello, and welcome to this episode of Figure Eight. Today, I am in conversation with Jennifer Yeh. And Jennifer is in charge of a really interesting business called Shoott. And prior to that, she's done a whole lot of really interesting and diverse things, like creating a children's clothing line, freelancing as a brand manager for local small businesses, procuring bids with Fortune 500 companies. And so a real range. And I think that leads to such interesting and rich stories. Her current startup, she's led them from the early days to over 9 million of revenue in just 5 years. So amazing progress, and how you grow a business, make it profitable, and scale up. Lots of stories there. And I'm super interested to chat with her today. So welcome, Jennifer.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining me. I'm so interested in your journey because my own path has been very eclectic, and I think it
Mhm.
makes it so interesting what you get to tackle and
Yeah.
why. And I mean, how would you say you think that's helped you?
Yeah. So I think the benefit of having I like your term eclectic because it definitely is that I think it gives you a lot of breadth of experience and different kind of experience so that when you do go into a new situation, for me, especially going into shoot, as the COO, it gives you a different perspective than maybe what other people may have. And I think a lot of times that's good because it really helps with innovation and helping to see things from not just everybody else's perspective, but from something new that oftentimes will enable us to solve a problem in a way that we haven't thought of before. And that is really good sometimes because it helps us not get stuck in the rut of trying things that everybody else has tried, but maybe hasn't worked so well. For example, we can think of more creative ways of going about something and then get around it faster and more efficiently.
Right. Well, and it is interesting because, I've seen in my experience where people who can be successful in some of those Fortune 500 companies cannot always translate down to something that's very tiny.
Yes. You have to be really nimble with the way you think, right? Because every situation is different. And I think when you're so used to pivoting a lot or doing a lot of different things, you learn to pick up context a lot faster because you have to. And then you're not stuck in one mode of thinking. Like it's easier to, I think, learn new things because you're always doing new things. Yeah.
Yes. Well, and it strikes me that that learning new things and doing new things really kind of has characterized you, that you don't stop moving. You're always, your hands are always in something and you're always doing
Mhm.
something different.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the things that really drive me and motivate me is curiosity and doing lots of different things. And even now in my position, having to wear so many different hats continues to kind of feed my motor to there's something new to learn, right? And something new to master. And yeah.
Yeah, and how did you then come in sort of 2018? How did you come to shoot? And how did it's such an interesting business, I think.
Mhm.
And I mean, beautiful photography is something people want, especially when they have important moments in their lives or children or those kinds of things. They want to
Yeah.
document those moments.
Yeah, for sure. So actually in 2018, at the beginning part of it, I was still working in corporate America. And my best friend from college, who is also my co-founder, had another co-founder that she met, and they were like, hey, let's start a photography company that can both benefit, everyday people, consumers, but also photographers, and helping them have a much better gig life balance to be able to do what they love. And as they were talking about it and started kind of trying new things, they were like, we really need somebody like a third person who, can help think for us, who can help execute and do all that stuff. And she immediately thought of me. So she basically called me up one day. She's like, hey, I have a new opportunity for you. Would you be interested? And obviously, me seeing, oh, this is something new. I can learn so much from doing something like this. It was a little scary because I'm going from something very stable to something that's a little bit unknown. Was exciting for me. So that's how I got involved.
Nice. And I mean, you had some pretty immediate success.
Yes. So I would say the first year, maybe the first half of the year, it was a little hard in the sense that we were still really trying to figure out who our ideal customer was. Because we started the business thinking that it would be more influencers, because at that time, Instagram was really picking up and the influencer community was really starting to grow. But we realized really quickly that it actually wasn't influencers, it was families. Just by fluke, we were like, hey, this is kind of working, kind of not. And we started in New York City, and we were like, New Jersey is right next door, why don't we just go there and just see what happens? And what we found out was everybody who signed up were all moms. And we're like, hold on, that makes sense, right? Because they're looking to capture those milestones. And from there on out, we really took off.
Yeah. It's so interesting, right? Like just how, yeah, you don't even know you're searching for your product market fit, basically.
Yeah, or we realized that we were wrong in terms of like who we thought would be our customer base. And instead of, trying to be like, no, we need to make it work. This should work. We're like, all right, let's just go to where it does work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and moms are sort of evergreen. There is a new mom every how many seconds being made.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's,
And women
I
are the
think,
key decision makers in
yes, they
households.
are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of like controlling those financial decisions
Mhm.
and the one who wants those photos to put around their
Yeah,
house and those kinds of things.
exactly. And they're in control of the schedule, so they know when it's possible.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so how did you know, I mean, you got all moms that signed up at that one in New Jersey. How did you know you were
Mhm.
kind of onto something?
So after that, we were like, all right, it seems like moms are our key demographic. So it was pretty simple in the sense that then we went back to New York City and we started marketing it to specifically to moms. So that took off. And then we're like, okay, let's just start expanding. So we expanded into the suburbs, started expanding into different cities. So we next went to California because we're like, what are the largest cities in the US, right? That's you're gonna have a lot more people to try it on, a lot more data to basically test out. And from there on out, it was just very simple in a sense. We started advertising a lot more on Facebook because that's where most of the moms were. And it was a little bit like shooting fish in a barrel up until iOS 14 privacy changes came along. That different story. We really had to pivot for that. But all in all, it's always been moms and really women who are going through major life milestones.
Right. And so you're just a quick your shoot, you
Mhm.
match photographers and people looking for photography.
Yeah, so we're a little bit different. So a lot of platforms actually do that where you can put in your information, they find a photographer, connect the two of you. So we do something a little different in the sense that we actually put up the schedule on the site and clients can go and there find what works for them and their schedule. And then we take a look at all the photographers in our network, look at their schedules and say who is actually available, who's a good fit for what these people are looking for. And then we match them on the back end. So what ends up happening is the photographer only needs to show up in one location, like an outdoor park, and then clients will basically funnel to them. They have a day of back-to-back sessions.
Nice. So they don't have to worry about how they control that calendar. So you kind of
Yeah.
make it easy for them and you
Yes.
make it easy for the clients to pick the
Yeah,
time of day they want and, where they want to go in terms of location and that sort of thing.
exactly. We have everything picked out and it's free. It's free for them to book. There's no risk involved. So that helps moms a lot because you don't want to put up a lot of money up front, get something you don't like, and then not be able to get that money back. Yeah.
Yep. So you start out in the biggest cities in America and then
Mhm.
you grow and you grow fast at that point.
Yes. Yeah. So we actually grew the most during COVID because at that time we specialized in outdoor photo shoots. We were one of the few activities that people could actually do outdoors that were naturally distanced. And we also figured out a way to hire photographers remotely. We used to actually go into each city and we would test shoot everybody, but we found a way to do that virtually so that we didn't have to do that anymore. And so because of that, we could open up a city basically in like 5 minutes.
Amazing. And, when you think about like how you build a scalable business, it was
Mhm.
not scalable for you to keep going to every city and test shooting. Like it
No, it wasn't.
wasn't.
It was
But
fun,
you
but not
probably would I bet it was fun and you probably would have
yeah.
kept doing it if you could have.
Yes, yes, and that is one of the kind of beautiful things about challenges sometimes. Like, they can feel really difficult and really scary, but then that's also an opportunity to become really creative.
Yeah. Yeah, and to think about how you can solve your problems differently, right?
Mhm. Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. So as you were growing, what kind of investments did you have to make? I mean,
Oh,
people talk about running out, technology doesn't work anymore, all of those things. What were the things that were key milestones for you on that journey?
yeah. So I would say the very first thing okay, so when we first started, we created what we call an MVP, right? Minimum viable product. So we did that on a lot of, free database softwares that are out there. We're like, let's just see if it works. When we found out that it was something that people wanted and we started to see that growth, we were like, okay, now we actually need to redevelop and revamp our entire back end so that it could actually support that volume. So we basically spent a year and actually built a real database, rebuilt a lot of the tools, rebuilt the website, everything so that we could sustain. Because the last thing we wanted was to have so much demand and have everything break, and that's bad for brand image. That's just bad all around. So that was the first key thing that we did, and along with that, we also started to hire more people on our tech team. So our tech team, our developers are all in house. We don't outsource that, and that obviously was very expensive, but very well worth it. And because of that, we've been able to continue to grow at the rate that we have been growing. So that was the first most important thing. And then I would say the next key piece of investment was really in marketing. So the majority of our expenses is actually in marketing. It's about, I would say, maybe 40% of our expenditures. And because our service in itself is something that once people try, they really love. So our challenge was to make sure just to get enough, to get in front of enough people. It's really a numbers game for us, right? So we spent a lot of money on marketing, invested a lot. We had, our angel funders and, friends and family around to help us fund that. And so we spent a lot of money on like Google ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and such.
Yeah. And how did you know you would need to get investors? At what point could you see that? And were you interested in doing that? Like,
Mhm.
did you think of it when you started the business? How did that come around?
Yeah. So when we first started, we definitely knew that we needed investment just because neither my co-founder or I have the money to be able to do that. But our other co-founder, he actually has a great network and he does also like investing on the side for himself. So he basically helped us run that end of it. So we did a very small round with just friends and family, and just to get us off the ground so we could at least pay people to be on the team and do the basic things like that. And after that, we had debated, and then we had started doing the more like venture capitalist round, and we decided not to go that route. I mean, there's a lot of pros and cons to that. And one of the things that we realized was that we wanted to retain the autonomy to be able to make certain decisions based on what we saw. And because, we're run by women and a lot of investors tend to be men, and this was very much a female product, we wanted to retain the autonomy to be able to make certain decisions on our own and not be constrained by having to hit certain KPIs by a certain date and then have that be at the expense of something that we cared about. So to maintain our brand and what we wanted the brand to stand for. So we decided not to go that route. And since then, obviously, it's taken us a little bit longer to perhaps grow to what we finally hit 10 million last year. But I think we did that while maintaining all the values that we wanted to keep and the way we wanted to run the business and our team and our culture and such.
Yeah. Well, congratulations because 10 million is a big finish line,
Yeah,
starting line to the next one, but a big
yeah,
milestone for you.
for sure, for sure. We're very
Yeah.
happy. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you talk about how you increased revenue while keeping your head count the same or making it smaller.
Mhm.
And I know
Yep.
that we've talked about, in 2021, you had some very hard decisions to make.
Yes. Yeah. So we had to cut down on people partly because up until 2021, our directive, our mind was very much just grow as fast as we can. Doesn't matter how much money. Our investors were, our friends and family were like, if you just need money to borrow, that's fine. But then the iOS privacy changes, and all of a sudden, our entire marketing stack looked different because all of a sudden CPAs were just so high. We're like, oh no, if this is going to be sort of the future where the entire marketing industry was changing, we can't continue to run at this pace and with this mindset and expect to be able to stay in business. So all of a sudden, in the middle of the year in June, we were like, all right, instead of growing as fast as we can, we now need to manage really hard for expenses and profitability. So it's a completely different goal. So because of that, we did have to let some people go because we're like, these were really nice to have things that we wanted for our brand, but in terms of getting in front of enough people and manage for expenses, it's not a necessity. So what we did, we had to get rid of those roles, and sometimes we would consolidate some of those tasks into other people. Other people would take over and do that. So we had to learn to do more with less, but not so much that we burned people out. So the way we did that actually was through really good process cleanup. So if you ever really sit down and we don't like to micromanage, but we sat down with people and we're like, all right, just kind of show us what you do day to day. And even from that simple step of asking and just watching, we were able to pinpoint a lot of places where it was really inefficient. We're like, okay, great. Here's an easy way for you to do this faster. And that way that saves you time so you could do more, or you won't be burnt out, right? You won't have too much on your plate. And that's kind of where AI, automation, all this stuff came in. We're like, where does it make sense to fit this in so that we still maintain the same standard of quality without sacrificing too much resources and time?
Yeah. And how did it change kind of like how you market and the marketing that you do?
Yeah. So surprisingly, we started trying to do a lot more things that weren't necessarily dependent on like Facebook and really Facebook, because that was when it impacted the most. So that's when actually when we started getting on TikTok, we're like, all right, we need to find other platforms to reach our audience. And we were able to grow, our subscriber list, our, followers list pretty well, but nothing still worked better than Facebook. And I think over time we found other companies. For example, one company that we use is called Black Crow AI, and what they do is um, they score people who come on our site so that we could target them better. So they basically get around the whole privacy issue. Obviously, the people who opt in, and they're able to help us curate a better list of people who have higher intent. And using technologies like that, we were able to start bring down that CPA back down to close to where it was at. But it took a lot of research and trying a lot of different companies, because I think everybody at that time was trying to figure it out and nobody really knew what was happening. So we would try a company, test it out, and then maybe we try a different one until we landed on somebody that we thought was worth it.
Yeah, I think it is really interesting. And it shows you the benefit of diversifying too, right? Like,
Mhm.
and getting into TikTok and having like different channels where you are cultivating people.
Yeah. The other thing that we did was we often get solicitations through emails saying like, "Hey, I'm a company, I do X, Y, and Z." And while most people might just be like, "Oh, that's spam," or whatever, we actually look at a lot of them, and we'll get on calls even if we're like, "It's probably not right." But doing so helps us, one, to make sure that we stay at the forefront of what people are trying to do, so that eventually we can find somebody, we know the questions to ask, we know what's out there and what's possible and what's not.
Right. Yeah. And you start to be able to, I would think that you're educating yourself as well about like, as you have these calls, you're like, okay, no, that might be possible. And it helps
Mhm.
to like adjudicate really what you're seeing.
Yeah, you learn so much actually from calls like that because you can ask so many questions, right? Yeah,
Yeah. But thinking that it's valuable to take the time when there's a million other things pressing on you is
yeah.
sometimes hard, I think.
It is, and we try to make the time in because there's 2 of us in terms of the co-founders. Sometimes we might take them together, sometimes we'll, take them separately, and then we'll come back together, but it's good to have to continue to evolve our, knowledge of what people are trying to do out there.
Well, and yeah, and I just think things are changing so fast, right?
Yeah, for sure. Especially with AI and everything. I feel like it's the same with being a human being or being in a relationship, right? Things are always going to evolve and you have to grow alongside of that in order to stay relevant, in order not to, yeah.
Yeah. No, and it's true. I think also like just living in that technology world and having, all the different pieces that come together of how you attract clients, how you push them down through your website and convert them, all of those
Yeah.
pieces, things are changing so quickly
Yes. And
every
people's
day.
preferences are changing, so you have to really stay on top of everything. There's no room to be lazy.
Yes. Well, and where are the moms? Because the mom demographic is always changing too in terms of
Yeah,
where they're meeting up and where they're finding each other.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And so now, so you hit that turning point of you need to change and you need to change fast because,
Mhm.
you've got to make some changes. You have now managed to get to over $10 million in revenue. So
Yes,
3 years later, you were
yes,
able to really make that shift.
yes, yeah.
And so now you're back on the growth path. And what would you
Mhm.
say? Like, I think one of the things that happens after you kind of come to 10 million is you start some of those processes start breaking again, right?
Yeah,
You're in that next shift mode when you cross over.
you're exactly right. Yes. So we're actually right in the middle of re-looking at all our processes as we speak. So one of the things that we haven't ever gotten around to doing was really, really documenting all of our internal platforms that we've built for ourselves and the website to be like, what are all the different things that is available for us as tools? Because our developers work very fast. When you work so fast, sometimes you forget what you've done and everything like that, right? So we're in the process of documenting that because, like I said, mentioned before, as we're doing that, that's when we start to see the holes and the cracks and the things that we need to fix, or things that we're like, hey, this is a little outdated. Hey, there's now an AI tool or an agentic thing where we can actually put in there to make things a little more efficient, a little faster, a little better, right? But it's tedious work, but it's very necessary. And we have found that the more we do that, the better we are able to actually have what a lot of people like to call work-life balance, right? If we document things, that means somebody else can easily come in and do that job. So if you need to take a break or if something happens, you need to take care of something, we can all do that and we can continue to grow without burning out, because burnout is so real. And if we're not careful and we burn out, then our company is done, right? So we have to make sure we take care of people at the same time.
Yeah. Well, especially, I mean, the trajectory, right, of like being at 800K in 2018 and hitting 10 million 6 years later, like that's a lot of change and a lot of upward
Yeah.
momentum.
Yes,
Which is, I
absolutely.
mean, don't get me wrong, it's what we all want as entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
But it's not an easy path in terms of that, like the learning curve and the constantly thinking, why do I feel like I know what I'm doing? Something's going on because you always feel a little bit off balance when things are
Yeah.
changing so quickly.
Yes, for sure. And I think one of the key things that we've learned is that whenever these challenges come and we're feeling overwhelmed, we'll give ourselves 5 minutes to feel overwhelmed, and then we're like, all right, let's look at this from a different perspective. It's not a bad thing. This is like, it's almost like a game for us, right? Ooh, can we overcome this? Like, what is this? Can we solve it? So I think when we turn basically when we set aside our emotions of feeling overwhelmed and looking at it more from an objective point of view, it helps us work past that to then actually be on a more productive line of thinking, instead of just feeling like, oh my god, how are we going to do this? This is so scary. Because that can hold you back, right?
Absolutely. Fear, yes. Your fear is one of the things that will cause you to not do the things, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and then it's figuring out, okay, so, what's the worst thing that can go wrong? How am I going to watch for it? What will we do if we see things starting to go in the wrong direction? How are we going to retreat? those kinds of
Mhm.
things, right?
Yeah,
But if you stop moving, I mean, the risk is, and I think, with all the turmoil in the world right now, even the risk is we try to protect everything we have, but that might be
yeah,
like, the sand is falling through your fingers, and really you should be looking for
yeah.
the opportunity.
Yes. So one thing that we always say to each other, like, every day, it's like, what is the next right thing to do? So we're always looking to take the next action, right? Like, yeah.
I think that's really great advice. Like not looking for what you need to do in a year, but like, okay, what's next? And then what's next? And then what, so
Yes.
that it's those steps. You're continuing to step forward.
Yeah, for sure. Otherwise it is really overwhelming. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And so now you're in 60 cities across the US.
Mhm.
And what's next?
So we're hoping to keep on expanding because obviously there's more cities, but also we're thinking about expanding to Canada and probably Mexico. So those are definitely on the docket for us. There's a lot of obviously paperwork and legal stuff to get through, but we would like to expand to those places because obviously there's also many families there, and yeah,
Yeah, in big cities and people are always looking for great photos. Yeah, like
yeah.
what are the baseline things that would make it attractive for you, right?
Yeah, and we hear the same, and we're in a lot of, like, local mom groups just to continue to listen to what moms are talking about, and obviously, there are moms everywhere, and, finding affordable photographers and documenting those milestones is really important. It's may not always feel important at in the moment, but later on down the line when you're looking back, that's when you wish you had done some of those
Had
things.
more photos. Nobody
Yeah.
ever wishes, well, I think in the moment of trying to manage your photos, you feel maybe like you had less photos, but from a
Mhm.
memories perspective, you never wish you had less photos.
Yeah, and it becomes like a family tradition too, right? It's like every summer, every holiday season, the family gets together really quick, 30 minutes outdoors, and then yeah.
Well, and I suppose the interesting part too would be if you're traveling somewhere to a different city
Yes.
to get together with a larger part of your family. Like there's a lot of opportunities for you to capture people through all kinds of different events
Yes.
that are happening in their lives.
And a lot of people do that because last thing you really want is for one person to be running back and forth, right? So everybody can kind of actually enjoy. It's not just something you do, but it's actually an experience that you can enjoy, you know, really interacting with each other and having somebody professional capture those special moments. So it becomes really genuine too, and it's fun for everybody.
Mhm. And I would think also from the photographer's side, it
Hmm.
is a great, filling a full day with shoots, of different
Yeah.
family every hour or 45 minutes or whatever it is that, puts a whole
Hmm.
day together would also be quite appealing.
Yeah. So the thing that we really wanted to do for photographers is to take away all the sort of logistical back office types of things that are just a pain in the butt to do so that they can just do what they love, right? And we're really great for, I would say, photographers who want that supplemental income. So photographers can have their own, side business. They can do their own weddings. They can have their own thing. But if they have maybe like half a day on a weekend to spare, instead of having to exert that effort themselves to find people to fill that, like we do it for them. So it's a win-win situation, right? If they can use us to fill their time, and likewise we use them to make our clients happy.
Yeah, I think that's a really great thing. And so more cities, more offerings, more all the things, more countries.
Yeah, more countries. And hopefully at some point, we've been trying to think of ways to partner even more with, salons or people who do makeup or rental clothing companies, right? Especially if you're getting a maternity session done, you may not want to buy a dress you wear one time, but you can rent something really beautiful and have that, you know, aesthetic of having a beautiful maternity photo to remember for all time. So there's lots of different ancillary services that we can definitely fold in, and that's something we're working on to just add more value and make that process even better for clients.
Well, and I mean what you speak about really is, yeah, more cities building revenue that way, more offerings
Mhm.
building revenue that way,
Yeah,
and hopefully I mean it feels like you have a lot of runway ahead of you, and
yeah,
it's going to be really exciting to watch you grow.
yeah. No, for sure.
Good. Well, thank you so much for joining me today and sharing about your going concern. I always love chatting with people and hearing about what they're doing in the world. So thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Okay, take care.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please remember to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you won't miss any episodes. Figure 8 isn't just a podcast. It's a way of seeing the big, gorgeous goals of women entrepreneurs coming to life. If you're interested in learning more, you can find my book, Big Gorgeous Goals, on Amazon anywhere you might live. For more about my growth and leadership training programs, visit www.julieellis.ca to see how we might work together. Read my blog or sign up to get your free diagnostic. Are you ready for growth? Once again, that's www.julieellis.ca. When we work together, we all win. See you again soon for another episode of Figure 8.